Hey, what's going on, Jets fans? Welcome back to another video. So today, since all this stuff is going on with the coronavirus, and basically all we have to look forward to as hockey fans is the future, because sports isn't coming back for at least the foreseeable future. I would say at least until June. So I decided to make a prospect ranking video for the top 20 prospects in the Winnipeg Jets systems. Now, this is just my opinion, of course. I got lots of different guys sprinkled in here. I'm going to rank them from A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and F tier. So I'm just going to go through it all right now. So I'm just going to get into it because I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to give a little explanation for everything. So we'll just see how it goes and go with it. So starting off, I think the #1 prospect right now in the Jets system by far is definitely going to be Ville Heinola, who was drafted, of course, last year's draft with the 20th pick overall. It was a pick that we traded for, that we traded in the Kevin Hayes deal, and then we got back with the Neil Pionk trade, with the Trouba trade, and all of that. So far, he's looking like, in what he played with this season, he's looking like a phenomenal defenseman who can have a lot of potential in the NHL, who could really grow and solidify as one of the top pairing guys in Winnipeg in the future. It's great to have a guy like this because no one really knew what going into that with that trade and going into the draft what the Jets would do with it, and to get a guy who already showed significant, NHL ready and capable abilities in his first games with the before he burned his year on the entry level, it was great to see it. So I think because of that reason and what he's shown just coming in at the age he's at, I think it deserves him of that #1 spot in right now. So right now I think the #2 prospect is going to be Dylan Samberg. Dylan Samberg, he was drafted with the number 43 pick in the second round in the 2017 draft. He has not signed yet, and we don't know if he will sign, so it is looking like a special case with him, but we're just going to see what happens. I think he has potential to be a really good shutdown defenseman. He's got speed, he can hit, he's got a good shot, he's got good vision, he's good defensively, he's everything you want in a defenseman, and I really hope the Jets can get him to put pen on paper, and we can get him in the system and get him developing as soon as possible. And to round out the A tier of prospects that I think we have, I'm going to put Christian Vesalainen in there. I know he's had a declining year in hindsight compared to what we all thought he would be at this stage since being drafted. We all know he was drafted 24th overall in the 2017 draft. And it's really interesting because I think he has a lot of potential still, but I just think because he went to play in Europe last year, it set him back in his North American development in the game. So I think because of that, he still has a lot of potential to be a great top 6 for us, so I think because of just how high his ceiling could be, even in a down year, I think he deserves that A tier spot, if you would. Now, getting into the B tier, the C tier, the D tier, and the F tier, there's going to be guys maybe that you disagree with and everything like that. You could probably already disagree with me. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below and who you think the best prospects are, the most underrated prospects are, so please go ahead and let me know. I'd love to have a discussion with any Jets fans in the comments about the prospects and about what the system is looking like so far, and what to expect coming up. So feel free to leave any comments. So jumping into the B tier, I'm going to give it to Sami Niku. Now, the only reason I didn't put him in the A tier is because, yes, we know what he's done at the AHL level. We know how good of a defenseman he can be. The issues with Sami Niku is that he hasn't taken that big next step into becoming a full-time NHLer. I still think he's going to be a really good piece for us. I think, if anything, I am really worried about losing him in the expansion draft. So I think he could be a really good piece for us, and I really want to see him grow. He just hasn't had that opportunity this year. He's been set back with some injuries, unfortunately. He didn't make the team out of training camp, which I thought was a very dumb decision considering how bad our defense was. Nonetheless, this isn't a video talking about how bad our defense is. So I'm going to put him at the B tier for now, but I wouldn't expect to see him dropping any more than a B tier, because I feel like if anything, he's going to go up and be one of our better prospects once he actually can show what he can do at the NHL level. So on that topic, I'm going to put in a guy here who a lot of people before this season kind of forgot about and wrote off, but I never did, and that's going to be Jansen Harkins. Jansen Harkins, he was taken, of course, 2015, and long time ago, 5 years for a guy to be developing and just getting NHL minutes now 5 years later. But he was projected to be a first-round pick at the start of the season for the WHL. And I really expected him to go within the lottery, actually, within the lottery picks. But he dropped. And I remember watching this draft live specifically, and me and all my friends were talking about how this guy right here can be a huge, huge get if he drops to the second round or even late first. And of course, that when I found out that the Jets picked him up in the second round, I was ecstatic. So I think he's going to be a great piece for us moving forward. I see a lot of future in him. I like him a lot better than some of the guys who other guys are higher on that are Jets fans, and I think he can be a really good piece for us moving forward. I can really see him fitting that Brendan Tanev role extraordinarily well. And I'm really looking forward to see what he can do with with his opportunities in the future. So I'm going to put him in the B tier for now. Now this one is really hard to place for me. Not because he's a bad player, just because I don't really know where he's at, and it's hard to really put a judgment and a position on where Logan Stanley falls on most people. But for me, he's still a B prospect. Yes, he has not made the NHL. Yes, he was a first-round pick, and there are a lot of issues with that. Now, I live in Vancouver. I'm a West Coast fan of the team, so I actually can relate to kind of to see with how my friends deal with a first-round pick defenseman who hasn't from this draft as well, being oh my god, I can't remember his name now, but the Olli Juolevi, it blew my mind for a second, but Olli Juolevi is kind of like that same thing. No one really knows what to expect with him anymore. He's kind of fallen off as a prospect. Most people have written it off, same as Logan Stanley. I still feel like he could be a really good NHL defenseman, but he's running out of time to prove himself, really. If he doesn't make the team next year out of training camp, I feel like he's done with the Jets, and he'll be a trade asset maybe at the deadline. So I'm going to put Logan Stanley at the B tier, and then to finish that off, I'm going to put a player that some of you might not even know about, and that is Declan Chisholm. Excuse me, butchered his name there, but Declan Chisholm. He's a defenseman who we took in the 5th round, 150th overall in the 2018 draft. This kid right here has so much potential. He's one of those guys I feel like that not a lot of people have really realized how good he could be, but if he plays up to what his ceiling could be as an offensive defenseman, as a two-way defenseman, he could be on the same level as Josh Morrissey if he keeps up his player progression. That's not an overstatement. He's smart with the puck. He can put up points. He's reliable defensively. He skates super well. It's everything you want in a modern two-way defenseman, and he could really develop into that. And if he doesn't really develop into that soon for us and he can't find that place, it's a great trade asset that we can use to put in packages and put into places. So just on that alone and how high his ceiling can be, I'm going to put him at a B tier. Now that's going to round up the B tier. We're going to get into the C tier now. And starting that off, I'm going to put Andrei Chipasov. If you don't know who Andrei Chipasov is, we signed him, I believe it was this year, off season and this summer that we had, the past summer of 2019, or no, 2019. And we signed him. He was undrafted, and we signed him. And he has been really well for us so far. He's played well with the Moose. He's played well in general. He's played well with the team when he's been called up. And he's just been a good overall kind of guy to have in that bottom 6 for your prospects that you build up to kind of just have that reliable, steady stream of bottom 6 players you can slide in at any time with injuries. He's a solid addition with that. I kind of would think of him as maybe kind of like an Adam Lowry type of guy, if you want a comparison for someone like that. But overall, I don't feel like he's going to amount to very much on the Jets because Adam Lowry isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and neither is Andrew Kopp. Those guys are really, really good bottom 6 guys for us, and unless they demand high contracts that the Jets won't hand out, I feel like we could lose one, and that's kind of where maybe Chipasov could have a future with the team. But overall, right now, I don't know where he stands. So that's kind of why I put him right in the middle. He's a good player. I just don't know where he fits in with the future of this team. Getting into the next C-tier player that we have, it's going to be David Gustafsson, another forward, another center. We took David Gustafsson in the 2018 draft round, the second, actually 2018, yes. So he would have been the last pick in this draft, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think Vegas was in that draft. They might have been. Either or not, he was one of the last picks of the second round. Very solid player, and he's got a lot of potential. But again, he falls in exactly kind of where Chipasov falls in. I don't know where I see him because he's a center. I don't know where he could really fit in because of how well the bottom 6 is. Our bottom 6 is insanely young, and we have a lot of good bottom 6 prospects who could really, you could slot any of them in and have the same type of production and same type of really good play style. So I'm going to leave him right there. I think that's enough said about him. Getting into the next player we have, he's a defenseman. We took him, of course, in the 5th round, 153rd overall, who I see having another big impact on the team who could be really good, and that is, excuse me for butchering his name, I'm going to try to do my best, Giovanni Velati. He's a defenseman. We took him, of course, like I just stated, in the 5th round. Now, he kind of is the same type of player that Declan Chisholm could be. He's got that same type of potential, but since he's a little younger, he's fresher off the draft and everything, not so sure about how I feel about him just yet. He could be really good for us. He could be a guy that gets forgotten about. He could be a guy that doesn't amount to anything. There's just not enough about him that we can really get from his game NHL-wise and that high skill level yet. So because of that, I'm going to put him at a C tier. And everything I just said goes for the same guy I'm about to say, and that is Leon Gonaki, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm horrible with last names, but another type of player, another defenseman who fits that same mold, who we don't know just enough about yet, but who could easily be a B-tier prospect by mid-season next year. We don't know yet. There's just these guys who we don't know where they're going to fall yet, and their skill level right now was about a solid C-tier. And to round that up, I'm going to put in a guy who we drafted last year in the 4th round, 113th overall, Henri Nikkanen. He could be another guy who could either be a top 6 prospect for us or a bottom 6 prospect for us. We really can't know what his ceiling will be yet because of where he falls right now. The C tier, unfortunately, is filled with guys who are like this, who we don't know enough about yet for comparing them to what they could be in the NHL. We can hope that they can be guys who can be, your bottom 6 pairings, maybe defensively. We can hope that they can be guys who will develop into players that you can use and plug in during injuries and having just bench guys and minor call-ups, but we don't know. Henri Nikkanen could be a top 4 defenseman for us in 4 years. We have no idea because we don't know what his skill yet can evolve to yet because of how fresh he is, especially Henri Nikkanen, because he was just taken in last year's draft. He's not obviously Ville Heinola ready, but he could be ready very soon. I was very happy when we took him. He's a very good player, very good center, and he's going to be he could be a very good piece for us moving forward. Everyone in the C tier could be a very good piece moving forward. The key word there is B. Getting into the D tier now, we're going to be kind of going with it. I'm going to put CJ Cease as our first guy in the D tier. Let me just clear out this real quick. So yeah, CJ Cease. Now the reason I'm putting him here isn't because he's a bad player, and I want to make this specifically clear. If I put someone in the D or F tier, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad player. It just means that their chances have kind of moved on from them being a consistent NHLer, and they're kind of sliding into more of a career AHL type of guy, or a AHL superstar type guys, if you know what I mean. And it's nothing bad against them. That's great that they can play at that level. I'm just comparing to what NHL type of skill sets that they could have. And unfortunately, at this point, we kind of already know what CJ Cease is. He's a hardworking bottom 6 guy, very similar play style to kind of like an Adam Lowry, and Andrew Kopp type of player. He's a bottom 6 guy, hardworking guy, but there's just too many players above him in the totem pole that are better skillfully that would get a call up and get more opportunities before him. So because of that, he's not going to really fall into like a high placing on this list. And fortunately, that kind of goes with the same thing with Jonah Luotu right now. We signed Jonah Luotu, I'm pretty sure I said his name right. He was undrafted as well, similar to what we did with Andrei Chebysov. Now, with Luotu, I feel like he could actually be a lot more, he's young, and he could be a lot better than what I have in the C and B. He could be in the B tier even. The issue with him, though, is that we don't really know what he can bring in at the NHL level. We need to see him play more on North American ice. And once he can get used to it and develop more, he could be a really good bottom 6 piece, again, moving forward. Another promising trade asset as well to have and bundle. It's good to have guys like this who are people and teams and GMs who they know who they are, what roles they fill as young players, what they can grow into. It's important as a GM to know that, because you don't want to be the GM having to trade, 4 late round picks every draft, every trade deadline because you're in a playoff situation with no grit. I remember, I want to say it was about 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I'm not exactly sure on the date, but Montreal completely loaded up on their bottom 6. And that was stupid because in hindsight, they didn't have guys to fill the roles that they needed for grit. If you hadn't developed those guys in your AHL system, have that skill set there when you know exactly where they are NHL-wise, that's an insane asset to have for teams. Insane asset, especially for press box call-up guys. If you have a lot of guys like that who are almost borderline 4th, 3rd line guys, that's really important, and the Jets have an abundance of that right now, which is also important because of their cap situation. So I'm going to put Luotu there for all of that reasons. Next guy I'm going to put there is Carl Dahlstrom. Same type of thing. Unfortunately with Dahlstrom, though, he's 25 years old. His window's kind of closed in the development stage of his career. He's going to be a fringe NHL guy, maybe if he's lucky in his career. And because of that, I'm going to put him at the D tier because he could maybe, on a bad team, get playing minutes and have decent seasons. But in hindsight, we already know what he is and what his ceiling is, and he's a solid D player, nothing more, nothing less. And we have a few more guys to get through on the D list. The next guy, of course, is one of my favorite prospect we have goalie-wise on the Moose is Mikkel Burden. He's a fun, energetic goaltender. I bet you've all seen the clips of him just being silly and doing insane stuff. I think he even kicked a player almost with his skate. It was crazy. He's a very eccentric type of goalie, and because of that, he kind of plays and has really high goals against, and that type of stuff. But he has a very high skill level, and if he can turn that into consistent wins on a daily basis, he would be a really good backup player for us to have as a goalie for the team. And if he can continue to develop, hopefully he won't get wasted like we wasted Eric Comrie, who I'm getting to. And as you can probably already see, I kind of know where I'm going to be putting him. The last guy on my D list that I'm going to be putting in is a guy that we took last year with our second round, Simeon Lundmark. I really like this kid a lot, and I think he has a lot of potential. Only reason I'm putting him at the D tier is because I want to see what he can do more on North American ice. I want to see what he can do more at the AHL level, and I want to kind of get the idea of where his skill set is with players that are, playing with a higher age group, because he is very young. And I'm waiting on him to see that. He's not a bad player. I just haven't seen enough about him to know enough and to be, to have that type of instinct. Like, when I saw Adam Lowry play, I had a feeling Adam Lowry would be a huge impact on the team when he was a rookie and when he was a prospect still. Same type of thing with Kopp. Same type of thing with Tanev in his rookie season. I saw these type of things with them. I have a really key eye of seeing these type of players. And if you know hockey, you have that key eye as well. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And right now, I just want to see him play more at a high level, at a a physical level, and I want to see what he can do before I kind of judge him more. Now, rounding out the F tier of prospects, and I know I said earlier about these guys being not the best players, but all three of these guys are going to be career AHLers, and their windows are done in my opinion. And starting that off, of course, is Nelson Nogier. Now, about 4 or 5 years ago, or however long it seems like it's been since Nelson Nogier has been on the team, 2014. And he was taken with the fourth round pick, 101st overall. I always thought Nelson Nogier would be a great top 6, player for us. I always thought he was going to develop into that, and I kind of thought he almost would take Toby Enstrom's role. I kind of thought that's what he would kind of go into when I was younger, but he just kind of disappeared. He never got his really chances to play. He never got the call-ups. He never really improved enough to make the team out of spring training, preseason. Excuse me. It's basically, but you know what I mean. Same concept, and it's just unfortunate because he could have had a good career. We could have known, but at this point, he is an AHLer. And the same goes for Eric Comrie. The fact that Eric Comrie is even in the Jets system anymore kind of baffles me. We lost him. I want to say he was, in this year alone, he went to 3 different teams. I want to say he went from the Jets to Arizona to Detroit to back to the Jets. And if it wasn't Detroit, I feel like it was Carolina, but I think it was Detroit. It could have been Carolina too. The point is, he was claimed. He hasn't been the best player. He's basically lost any chances he's played in the NHL. He's blown it. Horrible goals against. Never a good performance out of him in the NHL level. And I feel like because of that, and especially this season being thrown around like that, every team has kind of seen what he is now, and there's no point on even keeping him around in your system anymore. He's kind of burnt out, and he's kind of at that point where he's probably done, and he'll probably be out of the Jets system by the end of the year, if I had to guess. And our last prospect that I'm going to be ranking, the 20th prospect, Michael Spacek. Now, Michael Spacek, not a bad player by any means whatsoever. The problem with Michael Spacek is that he's lost his chance. He has not improved enough to be over any of these guys, in my opinion. Even guys who were just drafted, I would still put ahead of Michael Spacek. I know what Michael Spacek is. He's not going to improve anymore. And because of that, he's got to be an F-tier prospect. It's not because he's a bad player. It's because we know what he is. He's not going to get any better. He's never going to make the team full-time. And this is just how it's going to be for him. He's going to be an AHLer. And it sucks to say, but he lost his chance. And that kind of rounds up the list, guys. That's my list of A to F tier prospects. Our top 20 prospects, if you would. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to share this video out, get this everywhere. Comment below. Let me know your opinions on the top prospects that you have on the Jets. Who you hoping to get maybe in this draft, and whatever it is, since we don't know anything about what's happening this year with coronavirus happening and the league suspensions with all sports in North America. We have no idea. So everyone, I just want you to stay safe out there. Keep on talking hockey online and try to get through this hard time with people. Sports is something that we all use as an escape. So when bad stuff like this happens, it's really prevalent when people can feel it. It hurts. And it's affecting everybody, infecting myself, infecting every sports fan in North America and in the world, to be frankly. But, yeah, so just stay safe, everybody. Keep on getting through what you're doing, and we'll get through this together as a society, as a race of humans. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, comment, and all that usual stuff. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.